Um, Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cheltenham Township January Fire Board meeting. The agenda tonight has been adjusted, and we're going to go right into the first item on the agenda is going to be our public comment section. It'll be the first order of business. The public comment section is for the residents and business owners of Cheltenham Township. So let me just explain how we're going to do this. If you have a comment or a question, you can raise your hand and our Assistant Township Manager, Allison Elliott, will give you access. And you can ask questions or make comments on any of the items on tonight's agenda. Each household will be awarded 5 minutes, just in the interest of time to try and get anybody that wants to comment enough time. At the end of the public comment section, this agenda item will be closed and there will be no further comments heard. Let me just make a mention that I'm taking notes, so I'm listening. I may be looking down here and there to write things down, but I'll be paying attention. Okay, so at this time, is there anybody from the public that has a comment or has a question on any of the items on tonight's agenda?
Art Gordon.
Thank you. So I wasn't sure if you want to allow me to speak under the different topics or just under general public, which is fine either way. It may get a lot of things out of the way early, if that's all right.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. And minimize you here. All right, so Fire Board, fellow firefighters, volunteers, fellow citizens listening. I'm Art Gordon. I'm president of Ogons Fire Company. I'm also serve as one of our lieutenants. Chiefs of Fire Board, I want to thank you. I want to change the tone of our current situation and ask for your cooperation to certain ends. I sent you an email in December and I let my emotions get a little carried away from me. I've since realized you may have been as much shocked as our members were. I do appreciate the calls and texts with offers of assistance for our members and showing support since that email. I think the staff and commissioners have put you, Fire Board, in an awfully bad situation, and now I expect they will ask for your blessings supporting their actions. Our situation has been complicated in that the commissioners on the staff's recommendation has acted without consultation with Fire Board. They have taken away your and our duties of making recommendations when it comes to the fire department in Cheltenham. It's clearly stated in the charter and ordinance that it's your responsibility. They may have the ultimate responsibility, however, they must defer to Fire Board or willingly override your recommendation. They made this action, and I think you should affirm that this was not coming from Fire Board. We are not ignorant to our very recent situation and our crew number issue. As we all know, this is not an Ogons only problem or a Cheltenham only problem. It is a volunteer fire service problem. We have taken steps to increase our members as well as to replace our chief officer. In no way is losing one person a reason to shut down a company. We have received 5 applications since November. 3 were before decertification, and others have expressed interest in helping since then. I have a much longer version of this letter, but as I said, I wanted to change the tone. We were, and I hope you were as well, not prepared for this decision. It was premature at least. We are concerned for our residents and you, our fellow firefighters. Concerned not because we feel you will not do your best, but because we feel that our decertification is leaving a gap large enough to cause a safety issue. One for you, one for our residents. You all know that there have been events since December 16th that we could have helped on. We would have responded to faster and we could have made a difference. This immediate decertification has ignored previous precedents, which has allowed various companies and Fire Board to work out solutions to problems in manpower or response. So why the immediate need for action? The commissioners were told you were in favor of the plan. That would need a vote of 3/5 3 of the 5 chiefs to pass, which never happened. We see it on today. So as I said, I think they're asking you to certify their actions. It is still my belief that this, of course, did not come from Fire Board. In fact, we are all just digesting the DCED study, and I'm sure you would have not made any immediate recommendations on the plan as is. The following may have no power to make a change. However, I think it will speak volumes to our commissioners and our members at Ogontz. I ask you to reconsider the lateral transfer of Mr. Mulligan to Ogontz immediately. This would show that a qualified candidate was not improperly ignored. This had become a normal practice, and other transfers were approved just recently. Our other option was asking for exception, which is your prerogative not to allow. The transfer option has no reason to be denied based on qualifications. I ask you also to vote on a resolution to reinstate Ogontz Fire Company to active status, with any limitations agreeable to Ogontz and Fire Board. Hold us to our district until certain benchmarks are met, or anything that we are short of regarding the current SOPs, regarding membership or qualifications. If you do this, we feel the commissioners will have to listen to our grievance and let us make our case. If they indicate they will pause or reverse the decertification and provide for a method to plan for a future for Ogontz, we would be happy to work on our response changes that may help the overall safety of township residents. We feel our rescue, air truck, and other specialties can be combined with a team department response and continue to be an invaluable asset to our community. We have been asked by a few offering assistance, what is our goal? We would not be opposed to any common sense solution that keeps the vital responses coming out of Station 5. Our first response out of Station 5 has been a strength of our crew. I see our commissioners are scheduled to speak. I see them on the Zoom. I will address them candidly now. This falls squarely on your shoulders in that you had no outreach to me or our members. There are no ultimatums given that were ignored. In fact, we have numbers that show we are squarely in the middle of all companies in response rates for our crew. I sent the fire marshal and manager an email disputing his averages as recently as the afternoon of the 16th. They went ahead with their proposal, knowing that those numbers were in dispute. The presentation by the staff did not show you the stats of all the companies. How would you know where we stood in comparison with the other companies? You have not held any company to the standard of 20 persons per fire company, which we have already addressed since your action. Why are you now? The percentages that the staff used in our responses may have been correct. However, there's only one company that meets the 20-member requirement if you define that as only those with 15% of responses. Only one. You have invested millions of dollars, not only in the fire department, but specifically Ogontz over the years. You have just increased the fire department budget. I believe you have also authorized an increase in the tax millage, specifically for the fire department. During the budget process, there was no indication that a company would be eliminated, nor was there any mention in the study of a financial benefit to reducing the number of fire companies in Cheltenham. The studies just seem to indicate that there could or may be benefits to some form of consolidation of the center companies. A larger and more prominent recommendation was to reduce the approximately 50% of calls being false alarms. Increasing fines and fees for these was among the clearer recommendations. If you generally wanted to help the fire service, you could have addressed those recommendations, and eventually that might ease the burden on the volunteers that we so desperately need. Commissioners, please reconsider or pause the decertification. Return us to active status after your next actionable meeting. With a pause, we can add new members and return to service. In the last few months, we have taken a long look at our response. We can improve as is, but we also can see that we can better serve our township in a modified structure that may include a combination of companies or use of our facility for overall township benefits. These things take time and we don't know how to do that from the sidelines. Please reconsider and give us a method to work with Fire Board to continue at Ogons. Thank you.
Okay, do any of the commissioners want to comment?
Do you want to make a comment or another statement about holding the public comment to 5 minutes? Just to reiterate that.
Sure. Following President Gordon's comments, again, this will be 5-minute comments for residents and business owners of Cheltenham Township, please. If any of the commissioners wish to make any comments?
I'll just jump in. This is Commissioner Zygmuntfeld. I've been a regular attendee over the last 2.5 years of the Fire Board meetings, and I've been a strong supporter of the fire companies. I spent most of the last 2.5 years first attending and then listening and learning a lot about the fire companies and how things operate in the township. And once I got my feet wet, I was in a position to basically start to talk a little bit and just make sure that the fire board, the chiefs and the presidents knew that the Board of Commissioners in the township was fully supportive and committed to the things that you were doing for us volunteer-wise and the incredible work that the fire companies have done. I was a recipient in 2000 of a house fire and somebody saving my life by pulling me down my attic steps when I was going up personally to try and fight the fire. So I have a personal experience and history with knowing just what is done and how much risk and the things you take. It probably took about 1.5 years before my discussions in the fire board meeting actually started to cut through a little bit. And here's what I want to say, and particularly to you, Art. This was not and to the members of the Ogons Fire Company, this is not an impulsive decision. Over the last probably 18 months, in many of the fire board meetings, there have been specific discussions on the issues that were a concern to all the fire companies, particular on Ogons, with respect to manpower, with respect to recruitment, with respect to some of the loss of personnel because of some of the issues that occurred with certain individuals in the company. And so, you know, what we had to do was look at those things from Fire Board, along with the PFM study, which we used and had some recommendations, along with the CDEC study, which clearly has some recommendations, not all specific. And those are all the things that we used in the advise and consent process of trying to make the determination about what was best for the township, for our residents, for public safety. And I guess the last point I'd make is, while you mentioned the need for 4 out of 5 approval, the fact is that 3 of the 4 fire chiefs are in fact in support of this recommendation and the decertification decision. I know it's a hard pill to swallow. It's not something that we did lightly or easily. And what I would say to you is, we are sensitive to the problems and to the concerns that have surfaced as a result of this. We believe, based on the information we received, that we are not impacting in any adverse fashion fire coverage in the township. I wish we weren't put into the position of making the decision that we made, but we felt we had the rationale, we had the documentation, we had backup from the different things that we reviewed. And I understand that this seems unfair and maybe to you in characterizing it as arbitrary or short-term, but the truth is, I can tell you that the last 18 months, these matters have been brought in Fire Board. I've been present for those. And I would say to you, there was ample opportunity. It wasn't up to the commissioners to give you an ultimatum. It was up to you and the folks, just let me finish and I'll be done. It's up to you and the folks who ran Ogons Fire Company to make the fixes and to do the things to put you in line or compliance, to optimize fire protection from the standpoint of what Ogons could do for the township. And the determination was made that that hadn't happened over that period of time. I'm not the only decision maker. The vast majority of the board voted for the decertification, but I'll leave it at that and say it's not something that was done easily, that was done capriciously, and that was done without serious consideration and input from multiple parties. And I do, everything you do and everything you say is heard and appreciated. And I hope it's reciprocated from your end, from what I've said.
Any other commissioners wish to comment? Ian, Commissioner Rappaport?
Well, thanks. I want to thank Art for making those remarks. I thought they were important, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the fire board wants to respond to them and discuss them. As you know, I was not part of the larger majority, but I feel that our agenda the night that the decision was made was not as transparent as it should have been, given how things actually developed that night. And I'm not proud of that. I think that was very unfortunate and does not reflect the kind of transparency the public probably should expect from us. So I'll leave it at that. I'm just one of many.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Fire
Commissioner?
Marshal Lynch, if I may. Mr. Gordon and members of the fire board and citizens, I'm, as many of you know, I'm sort of new on the board. So I don't have a lot of the institutional knowledge or the history of Ogons, or frankly of many of the histories of the fire companies. But when this issue was presented, I, having worked with firefighters and knowing that I'm no expert, I rely on the information that is given. And I think asking probing questions about the safety of Cheltenham, about the impact on the residents, the impact on the other fire companies, the information that was provided to me on pretty much a clean slate, again, without any, a whole lot of information about histories and that sort of thing. The experts that I rely on at the township answered the questions to my satisfaction that there would be adequate coverage, the residents would not be detrimentally impacted. And based on the information provided and the strong recommendation, I thought it was necessary to vote in favor of decertification. And that is not meant to be disrespectful to any individual or groups of individuals. I, in particular, value the work that is done by our volunteers, by the boards of the various fire companies. I respect it and appreciate it. It was a decision based on the recommendation from experts that were presented, and in that respect, I supported the decertification, and I hope you appreciate that, at least where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Scott, I'll just add a couple of words.
Please do.
And it's basically repeating just what Commissioner Arman just stated. He stated my position very well. I, like the other commissioners, and hopefully the entire community, I'm a strong supporter of our volunteer firemen. They give an incredible amount of service to the community. And frankly, by being volunteers, they're saving the community untold numbers of dollars. And I try and bring it up often at our meetings, how important they are to the community and how much they frankly don't get recognized enough. I think it's often that they're taken for granted. So I often make a statement on how important they are to our community. I also, like Matt said, rely upon the experts or the information that comes to us as a commissioner on the Board of Commissioners. One of those is Commissioner Ziegmanfeld. His attending the meetings and reporting back on what was going on at Fire Board, I listened to and took it very seriously. Our township fire marshal, he reported to the commissioners on the status of the various departments and the issues that the Ogons Fire Company was facing. And then finally, it was a vote of the fire board. The fire chiefs on the fire board made a vote, and that vote was brought to the commissioners that they were recommending the decertification of Ogons. It's also been mentioned, the PFM study, the DCED study. So we were familiar with the problems, as Art Gordon stated, that all fire companies are facing. And we've been talking about this for a long time, the possibility of consolidating the fire companies because of the difficulty with getting volunteers. That was part of the background, but what brought it to a vote was the specific issues at Ogons with the fire chief and with their volunteers, their lack of volunteers. The fire board vote, Mitch's information, and Scott Lynch's information. And with that information, the commissioners took a vote, and we're standing by that vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay. So as far as fire board is concerned, the consensus of fire board was in favor in supporting the decision by the commissioners. One chief did vote no against it. 2 voted in favor of it. The information that was provided during the presentation, I retrieved from the emergency reporting system, and that's the reporting system the Cheltenham Township Fire Department utilizes to be able to track calls. The information is in there, is put in there by each individual fire company. It's their responsibility to put the data in. Over the last fire marshal was here 12 years, and my first year here for 13 years, the same information's been coming out of either the emergency reporting system or the firehouse reporting system. The average has been figured out and it's put into a spreadsheet and presented, which has really never been questioned. Again, I have no hand in entering the data as far as the personnel responding and the apparatus responding in the firehouse software. Since November of 2019, President Gordon and I did have meetings and discussions that were based around personnel issues and manpower issues. President Gordon had mentioned to me on several occasions that they were looking into offsetting, at least during the daytime hours, the manpower issues by possibly hiring I believe a minimum of two persons that would be paid directly from the Ogons Fire Company. They'd be at the firehouse at a ready. They would be required to have certain certifications and levels of training. On several occasions, I met with President Gordon, discussed this. We asked for an action plan. The Commissioner Ziegmanfeld on 2 different occasions asked for an action plan in that 1-year time period, and still have not received an action plan regarding that. Again, we took the information out of the reporting system, and we have the data and some other information that was provided in the presentation. I will ask if there are any other comments from a resident or business owner of Cheltenham Township on any of the items referring to this matter or on the agenda.
Scott? Can I talk to you? Can I make a statement?
Yes, you can, Mr. Robello, go ahead.
Okay, I've known you for a long time as past chief of one of the fire companies in Cheltenham Township. I always thought Cheltenham Township was the best. When I was chief, Ogon's Fire Company, Elkins Park Fire Company always provided me with the best there was. I always depended on Ogon's Fire Company with their rescue truck, their air truck, their manpower, no matter how few it was, they were the best. We all worked well together. To decertify them the way it went down, I never really believed in the NIFR system because I thought it was a system where you could doctor your attendance and things like that. Listening to the fire radio and hearing the apparatus going out, even though Ogon's was responding with Elkins Park with 2-3 guys, your brother would respond. You had a decent crew there. You had guys who knew what they were doing. There were other fire companies that weren't putting trucks on the street, that weren't getting out the door, or when they would respond, it was with a smaller fire truck instead of what I call a first-class fire truck. There was no leadership there. And there could have been another fire company that could have closed in place of Ogon's, or the township could have forced these companies to merge. And they would have, I think it would have been totally different if, you know, if they had, rather than go about it the way they did. You know, there's a lot of other things in there that could have helped out. I mean, Ogon's is the center of the township. And there's been a working fire in the gardens, and Elkins Park got there, Glenside got there, the company whose fire district it was in got there late. So, you know, I don't know. I think the commissioners could have taken a better approach at it. I think the commissioners could have reached out to the community more to let them know this is what's going down. And the commissioner that spoke in the beginning, Mitch,
Yes.
do you know how much fire apparatus costs?
It's not, I do, because I've been in budget meetings, so I do know the amount of money, and not only the cost to buy it, the cost to maintain it, the amount of time and energy. So the answer is yes, but that to me is not a relevant question.
Well, what I'm trying,
I want to answer. I'm not a firefighter. I'm a township commissioner, so I can't declare expertise in firefighting. What I can declare is that I have a responsibility to 40,000 residents in the township that I take intensely seriously. And on that basis, what I need to do is make judgments on, as Commissioner Arman, as Commissioner Norris said, on the basis of the information and input. So yes, I know how much, but that to me doesn't drive or guide the decision that we made.
so in other words, them trying to get the remaining 4 fire companies more money
That's a whole
closing a
different-
fire
that's a whole different
company
discussion.
had nothing to do with increasing their budgets at the cost of OGOT's.
Not at all.
Okay. All right. I just want you to know, it's not only did this put a burden on Cheltenham Township, it also put a burden on the neighboring communities that have to provide now the specialized equipment for Cheltenham Township. I mean, you're not getting an air truck unless you go to Abington Township. And I'm sure that you've notified Abington Township of the increase on responding to Cheltenham Township and even as far as rescues go. You have one squad in the township, which is Cheltenham. So now they're going to have an increase. If you need a heavy rescue, it's got to come from Winmore or it's got to come from Rockledge. And
Mark,
Weldon.
step in for a second here. Yes, our mutual aid agreements, we've met with them. We've discussed everything with them. I'm stepping in at no disrespect to you at all, but we're at our 5 minute. And again, I'm trying to keep it that so people get to hear or be heard. But yes, we have current mutual aid agreements going back to when you were chief at Lamont. Some of them have been adjusted since then. But referring to heavy rescue, you have Squad 4. You do have rescue, Rockledge's rescue, Winmore's rescue, and Weldon rescues coming if needed. So we're at our 5 minutes. I'm going to ask.
Sorry about going over, Scotty.
No, thank you, and no disrespect to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to ask for if there's any other comments from the public. Allison?
None that I'm seeing.
Allison,
Philip
do you want to,
Washington.
Allison, do you want to explain that you can use the raise my hand feature to identify themselves to you?
There's someone who's raising their hands at the Ogons Fire Company in the auditorium who wishes to speak.
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, hold on a second. I heard Phil Washington first before all that, so I'm going to give Phil. You still there, Phil?
Yes, I am.
All right, I'm going to give you your 5 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
All right. First off, the DCC study that I read that was just provided to the fire company, I did not see where it addressed Insurance Service Office. Insurance Service Office strongly suggests that there be 5 engine companies and 3 ladders in the township. I didn't see where ISO was addressed. I didn't see where NFPA standards were addressed in the DCC study. Mr. Commissioner, who has spent 18 months studying the fire companies in the township, this is the first I've heard of it. Our former chief would report at our company meetings for the last 16 months that there was nothing to report from Fire Board. So our former chief was not telling us anything going on in the township. In regards to the data being entered, once this came down, we've done an audit of our own fire reports. The former chief was the sole responsible person for entering the data into the NIFR system. It is our belief, and we can document it, that information has been wrong, entered incorrectly. My personal belief is that it was falsified. I'm still confused on which fire board the 3 chiefs voted to endorse this decertification to the commissioners. I'm still a little confused which one it was and which 3 chiefs voted for it. I'm still a little confused why, according to ISO and NFPA, Ogons's fire trucks are the best in the township, scoring a 98 out of 100. Why we have the only heavy rescue in the township that happens to be the reserve ladder for the township, according to ISO, for it, which gets us extra points. This decertification will limit our ISO rating, dropping us down to a class 5 or a class 6, which is a coefficient in everybody's homeowner's policy. So everybody's homeowner's policy is going to go up because of this decertification. I'm still confused why Ogons was selected when you had a firehouse that didn't have a certified fire chief or any officers for 2 years, 3 years. The same fire company does not even have a certified Class A pumper at all. And they've scratched many, many times. I believe Art sat there and went through our records for 2020, and there was one fire call in March that Ogons was not able to get a truck out of the door within 5 minutes. And yet this other company scratches numerous times. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I believe in all 5 fire companies. All 5 fire companies support each other. We all carry the load. Elkins Park, Ogons, we all work together, whether it's ladder work, fire work. We all share the load. Many hands make short work. The response areas in this township mandates and dictates 5 stations. The amount of equipment that ISO and NFPA recommends for a township of our size is well documented. None of that was addressed. None of the concerns were addressed. The fires, the rescues that have been in the area, I believe Rockledge's truck called 15 minutes on scene after the rescue at Melrose and York Road. The fire marshal stated that a 1 to 2 minute delay is an acceptable delay. When somebody's life is at stake, 2 minutes. Listening to the video and the 26 PowerPoints that the fire marshal presented, I believe that he may not have the correct information. I'm not sure how much he may or may not been a part of the wrong, erroneous information that was in his slides. I am to believe that there is a ulterior motive. Something is up behind the scenes. I'd like the opportunity at Ogons to correct the data in the attendance sheets, which are definitely wrong. Exponentially wrong. We can address why that information is wrong later, and the person who was solely responsible for erroneously entering the information. I think that's about all of my notes, and I should be close to 5 minutes, Fire Marshal Lynch.
About 4 minutes and 10 seconds, sir.
Being a 3rd generation of this township, being a firefighter for 41 years, I still take a lot of pride in working with all my firefighters, including the guys at 3. I have served very well with every one of them, and we fought fires. All I want to do is serve the community and save lives, and in a timely manner. Ogons has some of the best equipment in the entire township. The best equipment, our personnel are some of the most highly experienced, highly trained. We're the only ones in the township who have all sorts of technical rescue certifications. You're hurting the township. You're also hurting our neighboring townships because the neighboring townships have relied on us. And that has come evident with the recent call the other day in Jenkintown. That Abington Township was emptied. Cheltenham Township, Glenside, and Elkins Park was there. That left Cheltenham Fire Company to protect all of Cheltenham and half of Abington. 5 minutes, Scott?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allison will go to, I believe a hand was raised at the Ogons Fire Company.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, Ogons Fire Company. We can't hear you. Are you muted? Anything? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. That's better.
Okay, I'm Charlie Farrington. I've been a past chief here for 26 years. I've been involved for 54 years, and I spent 26 years. I missed one fire board meeting in 26 years. And I know what fire board's all about. And this isn't the first time we've had problems. And it's always, any vote was 3/5. 3 chiefs have to agree on something. If I heard correctly, Scott said there was 2 chiefs against and 1 for, or 1 didn't want us to go. So that's 3 chiefs. So I'm not sure how you got to 3. Also, Township Code Section 22-4A provides for the fire board to make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners through the Public Safety Committee. I'm not sure whether that was done either. As I said, I haven't been here longer than a lot of people, but my life is in it. I got sick back in May, and I will be back somehow, somewhere. And I just can't believe this is happening, and it's a shame. And Scott, can you tell me what 3 chiefs voted?
Yes, Glenside, Cheltenham, and Elkins Park.
Glenside, Cheltenham, and Elkins Park voted to,
The current chief at the time of the Ogons Fire Company was the acting chief of Lamont. Also, he recused himself from any decision.
okay, very interesting. Okay, that's all I have. I hope you guys find it in your hearts to give us a try. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Allison, is there anybody else that has their hand raised?
2-1, not 3.
Yeah, Charlie, tell them that it wasn't.
I don't see anyone. You can use the hand raise function on your
Right.
Zoom.
Glenside was for us.
Allison, could you pardon me a second, Charlie Farrington?
Yes, go ahead, Charlie.
Scott, originally you said 1 chief was for it, 1 chief was against it, and 2 were in favor of it. That was your original speech in the beginning. So having 1, 3, and 4 against it, I don't know where the 1 who voted not to do it.
Glenside voted not to do it.
Okay, you just said they did it.
No, Glenside, they were the not in favor, and the other ones were in favor.
So if
It's 2-1.
so, it was only 2-1, not 3.
3/5. 3/5. 3 out of 5 chiefs voted.
No, there has to be 3 out of 5. There has to be 3 yeses or 3 nos, not 3 votes. If I'm not mistaken. There has to be three to make the decision.
Scott, can I jump in for a second?
All right, Chris.
To my knowledge, I don't believe there was a vote taken at Fire Board on this. We can go back through the minutes, but I don't believe there was an actual vote.
There was a discussion, yes, correct. And the question was asked if it was supporting the commissioner's decision. The consensus of that was yes.
I mean, our position was that this was a commissioner's decision that we didn't believe Fire Board should be making. I mean, coming from Fire Board, like the commissioners gathered information, they made a decision. And I mean, I was sick for a while. You guys know that. I don't recall. I just want to make sure the record's correct. I don't recall a vote being taken.
Chris, I'll second you, Chris. This is JP, Chief 1. I do not recall any vote at Fire Board to shut down Station 5.
Thank you.
There was not a vote taken. There was a discussion asking if you supported the commissioners making the decision to decertify the Ogons Fire Company. The consensus of that discussion was 2 agreeing with the commissioners and 1 not agreeing with the commissioners.
When was that discussion, Scott?
That was the question I asked you on Tuesday the 15th.
You asked about Mulligan, and you asked about Dave Washington. I don't remember any conversation about shutting 5 down until I heard about it on Tuesday about the commissioners.
Right, and your comments to me where you disagree with this, it's not fair. What about Station 2? The commissioners need to know that Station 2 isn't getting out and 5 is. That's the information.
Correct. So that was the vote that you're counting for Fire Board?
Wasn't a vote. It was a question asked if you support a decision that's going to be made by the commissioners.
Okay, so it wasn't a vote at Fire Board. You just asked our opinion, correct? Originally, in the beginning of this, it said from Fire Board.
The consensus, what I said was, and it's in the thing, the consensus of Fire Board is supporting the efforts of the commissioners moving forward to decertify the Ogons Fire Company.
Okay.
Well, I disagree with that because you said it even at the other meeting. You said, and I have the tape of the December 16th meeting. You said the commissioner asked you if Fire Board agreed with it, and you said, yes, 3/5 of the chiefs agreed. And we have it on tape. So I don't know who's kidding who there, but this is just, it's ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. You know, the old days, just I'll bore you for 1 second. When I was chief with Fire Board in the old days, we used to have a 10-minute meeting, and then we went over to Breen's Tavern and solved anybody's problems. We had a beer and a sandwich, and everything got resolved. And I just can't believe that it's come to so cutthroat over nothing. Just really a shame. That's all I have. I'm sorry.
Fire Marshal Lynch, Phil Washington, I asked for a parliamentary procedure in regards to, first have to ask for permission. It's parliamentary procedure that I want to quote something out of the chapter 22.
No, I'm going to hold off for right now and make sure there's anybody else that wants to say anything. So you have your 5 minutes. I'm going to ask Allison, is there anybody else with their hand up?
No. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Washington?
Is someone else trying to chime in?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, Phil, go ahead.
All right. Chapter 22 of the Fire Department, PSC Code Book of Cheltenham Township. Section 22-3, Fire Board established membership meetings. Section C, a majority of the Fire Board shall constitute a quorum necessary to conduct any meeting. No action taken by the board shall be effective unless such action has received the approval of 2/3 of the members present and also 3/5 of the 5 elected fire chiefs or their alternates. If a 3/5 vote does occur, any company can request a vote be taken by the entire Fire Board.
Okay.
Under parliamentary procedures, I'm not allowed to comment on it. I'm only allowed to refer to it.
No, here's what I want you to do. How about you read 22-2 membership? Read that to me, please.
Each volunteer fire company, which is a member of the fire department, shall maintain an active firefighting force of at least 20 members and shall be subject to the control and jurisdiction of the Board of Township Commissioners. All active firefighters of the fire companies who are 16 years of age or older shall be members of the fire department.
Okay, thank you.
Can I comment on that? As previously stated by President Gordon, not all the fire companies meet that. Ogons happens to list only those members that actually ride the trucks to fires. Some of the other fire companies may include other members that may be life members and not actual firefighters in order to get their 20 numbers.
That's fine. I'm not going to dispute that with you. But the other fire companies aren't on the agenda for tonight. Ogons is. Allison, is there any other comments or anybody with their hand up?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public comment sections of the meeting and move on with the rest of the agenda. From the for the fire chiefs, I will entertain a motion to accept the November 5th, 2020 minutes as previously distributed.
Motion.
Scott, could you read those minutes, please? I
Sure.
think it's important, at least tonight, that we actually read through the minutes.
So, hold on a second. All right, the regular meeting of the Cheltenham Township Fire Board was held at the Emergency Operations Center on Thursday, November 5th, 2020. The meeting was called to order by Fire Marshal Lynch at 19:30 hours. In attendance were Glenside Fire Chief John McHugh via Zoom, Lamont Fire Company Acting Chief Kevin Lynch, Elkins Park Fire Company Chief Brian Levy, Cheltenham Fire Company Chief Chris Jock, Ogons Fire Company Chief Kevin Lynch, President Ogons Fire Company Art Gordon, Township Fire Marshal Scott Lynch, Emergency Management Coordinator and EMS Chief Ken Hellendahl, Lieutenant Andrew Snyder, Cheltenham Township Police Department, and Commissioner Mitchell Zygmunfeld via Zoom. Motion was made by Chief Girock and seconded by Chief Lynch to approve the October 1, 2020 minutes. The motion carried. There were no correspondence. Report of the Fire Marshal. Number 1 Central Avenue is making good progress. First half of the first floor finished and second half renovations underway. Melody,
On.
I'm sorry, what's that? Melody Laundromat from 269 Southeastern Road has completed all required repairs after the fire on 9/20/20 and has reopened. New hydrants will be installed at Franklin and Laurel and at Laurel and U with the upcoming Aqua Water Main Replacement Project. Roland Park Water Main Replacement Project has begun. 6 additional hydrants approved and to be installed. Ashburn Meadows has started construction. Temporary dirt roads have been established. Forms for curbs and foundations should be started shortly. Thank you to all for assistance at recent dwelling fire at 10/22/20 at 8003 Ivy Lane. Unfinished business, training grounds. New burn props at the training grounds. Contact the fire marshal before using them for instructions. The only company that hadn't had instructions was Elkins Park at that time. That's since been taken care of. Operational policies under unfinished business. Motion by Chief Lynch and a seconded by Chief McHugh to adopt the officer's response policy. The operational policy 200.010. Motion carried. Motion by Chief Drock and seconded by Chief Lynch to adopt the amended firefighter training requirements, operational policy 200.006, that now includes exterior and interior levels of firefighter. Motion carried. Montgomery County Emergency Services Trunk Radio System update. Ken Hellendahl reported that on December 8, 2020, the changeover will happen, unknown what time. Help sites have been established throughout the county. Mobile radios and officers' portables will have the police receive only. DCED study. Commissioner Zygmunfeld discussed the study to be released on Friday, November 6, 2020. This will be reviewed by the commissioners and then released to the fire companies for input. If study recommends additional funding, that will happen. Emergency reporting. Fire Marshal Lynch mentioned historical data transfer will occur last week of December. Administrators for the Cheltenham Fire Company account will be provided a new login and password to the township's account starting 1/1/21. All reports will be entered into the township's account. Any reports up to 12/31/20 will remain in the Cheltenham Fire Company account and still accessible. If you accept a new member, please enter their information into the system. Ogons Fire Company. President Gordon reported the recent incident involving a member was investigated. The member served a brief suspension and further restrictions were put on this member for the future. President Gordon discussed hiring 2 personnel at a possible $125 per day stipend to supplement their staffing. President Gordon will send Fire Marshal Lynch info for distribution. Chief Drock will provide information that will assist. Lamont Fire Company. Chief Lynch questioned Lamont Fire Company being added back to the township box system as an extra engine. After a brief discussion, it was decided to make changes at the end of the year. New business. Chief Lynch announced his resignation from the Ogons Fire Company to take effect 12/31/20 at midnight. President Gordon mentioned Ogons Fire Company putting a plan together for a chief. Company reports. Company 1 Chief McHugh reported, membership is up. 4 members pending. Glenside Fire Company will be purchasing additional gear racks. Second lieutenant has been elected. Company 2, Acting Chief Lynch reported, on track to receive new engine by end of month. New pickup truck has been ordered. Current engine 2 is for sale. Good progress with membership. Company 3, Chief Levy reported progress. Company 4, Chief Drock, no report. Company 5, Chief Lynch, no report. Police Department, Lieutenant Andrew Snyder reported. Thank you all for assistance over the last couple of weeks. 10 officers out with COVID. We'll be starting interviews for potential new officers. EMS, Director Hellendahl reported no report. Emergency Management, Emergency Management Coordinator Hellendahl reported. COVID still very active, continue disinfecting daily. Riot policy has been distributed. Please review and follow. New 400 megahertz township radios have been distributed and will be notified when turned on. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Ziegmanfeld reported. Please interact with new township manager. If you have not met him yet, please make an appointment to do so. Nominations and elections, none. Good and welfare. Fire Marshal Lynch discussed changing the process for the meeting time to 7 p.m. which requires an ordinance change. FM Lynch to distribute a copy of current ordinance. Chief Drock suggested changing meetings to every other month. Next meeting, the next scheduled meeting for Fire Board will be on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. At the EOC. Adjournment. There being no further business, a motion was made by Chief Drock and seconded by Chief McHugh to adjourn the meeting. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned at 20:12 hours.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Give me a second here. Okay, so correspondence. I received a email from John Mulligan raising concerns regarding a request for a lateral transfer. Moving that under unfinished business. Fire Marshal's report. All right, sprinkler plans have been submitted to me for Ashburn Meadows, which is the site, the new development going in at the old Ashburn Country Club. Most of the utility work there is finishing up for phase 2 prior to the construction. As far as the fire company with the sprinkler plans, the garage is going to be sprinklered. The common area above the top floor, the roof area is not going to be sprinkled. I have calls into the sprinkler contractor and the general contractor to meet with them, and I'm going to push the issue that every 1,000 square feet they put fire blocking. We'll go from there. I met with township staff, has met with the management company over at Greenleaf, which is the old Cheltenham Square Mall. We discussed the trash issues. We discussed the parking and fire lanes and the traffic congestion issues. I also had a second meeting with them earlier this week regarding Chick-fil-A, which seems to be the biggest traffic issue we have. They are going to be submitting a plan with a map to myself, and then staff will review it. The township manager and the chief of police and I will review it, and we'll be able to weigh in and see how we can help them correcting this congestion problem. With the assistance of Lamont Fire Company, several smoke detectors have been installed in the homes, the Mellon Road area and Worcester Drive, in that whole neighborhood there. Excuse me. I'll ask the chiefs, please, to, by the 15th of the month, by the middle of the month, to please submit your 2021 officers lineup and their contact information and your active firefighter roster as required. Also required to be submitted is your background checks. Some of the companies have already done that, so if you can get that by the 15th, it would be great. I would like to thank the companies for their assistance in the last month with the fire at 2047 North John Russell Circle on December 21st and the fire at 816 Party Lane on December 27th. And I'm working on getting you guys your 2021 insurance cards. So once I get them, I'll drop them off at each respective station. Next week at the public safety meeting, Mark Colazzo, he was the employee from the Target who put the fire out, and Greg Marone, he was the mail carrier that extinguished the stove fire at 7604 Massey Way on December 21st. They're both going to be recognized at public safety next week. I'll be by myself in the EOC, masked up and all that. They'll come into the OC. I'll present them with some recognition, and then we'll finish conducting the meeting after that. That'll be the first order of business on the agenda. So, does anybody got any questions for me regarding that, my report?
Fire Marshal Lynch, John Mulligan, I do have a question and my hand has been raised.
Okay.
So I received no return correspondence in regards to that email that you were speaking of earlier.
That is correct. We were going to discuss that further down the line under unfinished business.
Okay, sir. I'll wait patiently.
Okay, under unfinished business, we have the training grounds. Does anybody have anything on that? Nobody's been down there because of COVID, but I think as the weather warms up, we're able to get outside and spread out more. I don't, you guys will decide if you want to go use that or not. I do have anybody have anything else on training grounds? All right, next order of business is operational policies. I do have one thing under that. We developed the officer's response to the scene policy, and I'm going to redistribute that, and we want to take a second look at that. There are, to my knowledge, I've been made aware, some members of the fire company that aren't officers that live a distance and have permission from the individual company to have their gear in the car and respond directly to the scene. So we should probably incorporate that into the policy, but I'll send it out and just with that thought for you guys. Montgomery County trunk system. Ken, are you still on by any chance? You got anything on that?
On the radio system or the CAD system?
Trunk radio system.
Yes, just one thing for the chiefs that I think some of you or all of you are aware that your new radios do not have in them the ability to listen to the police department, which was agreed on in 2019. The county police chiefs put out a vote, which occurred yesterday, putting severe limitations on who would and would not be allowed to listen to police radio. What is currently in the county policy says truck radios, chiefs, and portable radios that are assigned to people. The police chiefs have put severe limitations on that, in spite of pressure from the chief of Abington, the chief of Cheltenham, Springfield, et cetera, who absolutely want the interoperability of allowing the fire department and EMS to listen only to police radio. That vote took place yesterday. As a member of the Joint Fire and EMS County Radio Committee, we're not happy. Chief Fry is not happy. Chief Malloy from Abington is not happy. I would ask you to trust us for a little while. We have a plan B in cooperation with the chiefs. We're not done yet. If we need your help and letters and support from both the commissioners and the fire chiefs, we'll let you know. But as of yesterday, it was voted down. So we do not know what will happen in the next programming. I can say on a positive note that the switchover occurred on December the 8th, and it was 100% flawless. We did open the EOC for the whole day as a backup plan and did not have to use it at all. Have not heard of any problems from any chiefs or any ambulance chiefs. So that part went well. There was also another ongoing discussion about for joint calls where fire and EMS are going to switch to a given channel that'll be predetermined. That also is up in the air. So I'll answer any questions, but that's the latest update.
Anybody have any questions for Ken? Any of the chiefs, commissioners? Okay. So there was a proposal submitted that was discussed. Proposal was okay, JP? All right. Proposal was sent by email from President Gordon on November 30th, 2020 that was distributed to the fire chiefs for comment. In the proposal, President Gordon presented requests that indicated the situation in the Ogons Fire Company regarding the position of chief. Proposal number 1 was for the current Captain David Washington be approved by the voting members of Fire Board to assume the position of acting chief on January 1, 2021. And David agreed to take the one needed course to complete the required qualifications set forth by Fire Board on October 1st, 2009, adopting the Cheltenham Township Fire Department Operational Policy 200.004, Officer Training and Advancement Requirements. At the time of the proposal, the chief of the Ogons Fire Company was also the acting chief of the Lamont Fire Company, who recused himself from this decision. The voting members of Fire Board or the fire chiefs, and this request was voted upon with 2 no, 1 yes, and 1 abstention based on the previous comments. I will entertain a motion now to confirm the decision regarding David Washington assuming the position of acting chief at the Ogons Fire Company.
Elkins Park votes no.
Okay, 2 no's, 1 yes, 1 abstention. I'm asking for a motion to confirm this.
Make a motion. I second it.
All right. Motion by Chief 2, seconded by Chief 3. Okay. Proposal number 2 was for John Mulligan, past chief of the Lamont Fire Company, to laterally transfer his membership from the Lamont Fire Company to the Ogons Fire Company under the Cheltenham Township Fire Department Administrative Policy 100.003, adopted 1/2/20, to assume the position of chief of the Ogons Fire Company if accepted into membership. At the time of the proposal, the chief of the Ogons Fire Company was also the acting chief of the Lamont Fire Company, who recused himself from this decision. Voting members of Fire Board of the fire chiefs in this request was voted 2 no, 1 yes, 1 abstention based on the previous comments. Now, just to be clear with everybody, what was voted no against was laterally transfer membership, not denying Mr. Mulligan to be chief of the Ogun's Fire Company, just a lateral transfer. So everybody's clear on that. At this time, I will entertain a motion to confirm the decision regarding the lateral transfer of John Mulligan from the Lamont Fire Company to the Ogun's Fire Company.
So moved.
Or is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
One no. The ayes have it.
Confirm a chief officer is there for company 3.
Yep.
Here. Thank you.
Chief is on the meeting. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. That takes care of that. We're going to move into new business.
Sir, John Mulligan, I still have a question pending on that vote. I was the first person in Cheltenham Township history that asked for a lateral transfer who's of African-American descent and denied. To my knowledge, there has never been any other denial ever of a lateral transfer. Would I be correct in stating this?
You are correct, sir. However, the chiefs that spoke to me about denying your lateral transfer was not based on color, sex, religion, or anything like that. It was based on your past leadership and the occurrences that happened under your command at the Lamont Fire Company. That's it. We're moving on. Number 5A.
Sir, I'm sorry. You said 9-year. One, that's incorrect. I have not been chief for 4 years. 2, any incidents that took place at Lamont Fire Company were not directly a transgression of any of my acts. If anything, I had support from township commissioners and from other township fire companies during those incidents that you're speaking of, sir. So I'm not sure where you're going in regards to that. If you could please elaborate, I would ask you to do so.
No, I'm not going to elaborate. The decision's been made. It's a moot point right now. And we're going to move on with the meeting. Under new business, letter A. As you're aware, the Board of Commissioners voted on December 16th to decertify the Ogun's Fire Company. This decision is final. Moving forward, the remaining Cheltenham Township Fire Companies are continuing their cooperative efforts with cooperating with the township. Item number B, revised dispatch procedures and increased coverage areas. I am going to defer this to Chief Drock.
The 4 chiefs got together, I believe it was Monday night, and came up with a temporary plan to cover Station 5's local. It'll just be a note in the computer at the county, which adds 3 additional engines to the building fire responses. The balance of the calls right now are being covered by Station 3 on the local responses. And we do plan to put response procedures in place for the entire township, hopefully by the end of February. And this was something that was addressed prior to any of this happening. We did actually get together, I believe it was back in November, and talked about the need to rework the responses. So that was in the works prior to anything happening. We've stepped up our game a little bit and hopefully have that all together to go up to the county by the end of February. The only thing happening now is the temporary responses to 5's local, adding the 3 additional engines to make sure everything's covered. We do need to, we'd like to include Station 2 as part of that response as an additional engine. We know that they're still trying to beef up staffing and improve response times. I believe at this point they're still restricted to their local. So I'd like to make a motion to allow them to respond outside their local so we can see how they progress.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any questions on the motion? Hearing no motions, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Our Marshall Lynch, Commissioner Zygmunt, can I ask a question related to that agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Is there any concern among the chiefs regarding an adverse impact on public safety or fire safety with respect to making these adjustments both now and as you mentioned, Mr. Dratch, over the next month or two to get everything squared away?
I don't have any.
Yeah, the response times by Station 3, I mean, the two companies are so close together. Thankfully, Station 3 staffing is pretty solid right now. They don't seem to have a problem covering things, but I mean, Brian, that's really up to you to answer.
Yeah, I think as of right now, I think we're good. I don't foresee any problems with it.
Well, thank you, Station 3. And I think it's really a critical issue because one of the concerns mentioned was the fact that there were implications that we were putting the community in close proximity to Ogons at risk. And we're reassured, I know I am, and I'm sure the rest of the board is, as well as the public, that that is not the case. So thank you for that response.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Any fire board members have anything else under new business?
You want to go in order of numbers?
We're going into company reports now.
Okay.
Do you have anything under new business, Chief Yaqu?
Ladder 1 will still be out the service till late next week. Multiple problems, trying to get them all fixed.
All right, hold on 1 second. Hold that right there. Company reports. Station 1, Ladder 1, out of service until, what'd you say, until next week?
Yeah, till late next week.
Multiple problems. Okay. Go ahead. You still have company report. Go ahead.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Station 2.
Due to COVID restrictions, so I'm told, and shipping issues, there's been a delay in the truck. We have a revised contract signed for delivery by the end of January with penalties should it not arrive by then. So we're holding that to a hard date. We've begun negotiations with Linwood Gardens for the acquiring to start one unit to get our living program off the ground and running. Membership drive is progress. I believe we'll be reading at least one, possibly 3 applications at the end of this month. One of them that's already certified with fire training and experience. Other than that, progress.
Okay, give me a second. I'm still writing. Membership progress. 1 to 3.
Should have asked Jen to take the notes. She types faster.
Chief, can I ask you, Chief Lynch, can I ask you under membership progress, you said 1 to 3 new members, one with Fire One certification?
Yes, we have, one application is in and then 2 have been distributed. We're waiting for them to be returned.
Okay, with Fire One cert. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to Station 3.
Okay, our new utility truck is in service. Basically, it's going to run mostly just wires, calls, and manpower support. All of our drivers just completed a 72-hour Pro Board driver operator class through Bucks County. And in April, we're hosting a Pro Board VRT class. So if anybody in the other companies is interested, let me know and I'll forward you the dates. Other than that, we're progress.
April is the VRT class. that what you, I'm sorry, April's your VRT, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, hold on a second. Brian, if I'm not mistaken, you had non-drivers that are going to be in your driver training program to also complete that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit more credit. They quite a few people go through it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Chief Giroux, Cheltenham?
January 28th and February 4th will be the hazmat operations class at Cheltenham for anybody that wants to jump in on that. It may be at the station, it may be via Zoom. That's yet to be determined. When that gets finalized, we'll get that out to everybody. You know, as usual, everybody's welcome. That's it, Scott.
Okay. Police report.
Nothing noteworthy to report. So maintaining the status quo.
Okay. Emergency management.
Couple things. Everybody should have your 400 radios installed in your trucks and stations. If you don't, please do it or let us know if there's a problem. Winter is here, and that's our way to communicate with snow plows to get them out to you. Yesterday, we picked up 2 pallet loads of COVID supplies. There are 140 small business size boxes that will include a thermometer and various cleansing supplies, gloves, all sorts of stuff. And we got permission today, I believe, to distribute 7 of each to each of the fire departments, plus numerous township staff people and businesses. So we'll be dropping those off in the next week or so. Late this afternoon, Commissioner Arkush announced, and we'll get the details tomorrow morning, that we probably will not be able to do the COVID shots on site in Cheltenham for fire and police, which is 1B, and it's due to the volatility of the vaccine, having them distributed, and the computer systems that are in place. All of EMS has had their first shots. The system is extremely efficient. It'll take you 20 minutes from start to finish. We do not know when 1B is going to be yet. The other thing she announced is that they're only getting 2,000 vaccine doses, 3,000 vaccine doses per week, even though they're requesting way more than that. We will let you know when 1B occurs, and that will be police, fire, various public works, and so on and so forth. It appears if they do it the same way that they did EMS, which is what today sounded like, you will have to submit a roster to the county with active firefighters. And then they will be sent a link. They will sign up on their own and be allowed to choose a date for the vaccination. 29 days later, plus or minus 3 days, they get vaccine number 2. I would encourage you to work within your departments for timing of how you do it, because the reaction to the first shot has not been bad for anyone. It's been a very sore arm, but that's about it. We had 2 people that did get flu-like symptoms and a low-grade temperature, but we are hearing that after the second shot, more people get that and just can't work. So if you can work within your own staffs to prepare for that, all of you, not everybody, but a lot of people completed the survey that I sent out. That was sent up to the county already, so they have numbers for Cheltenham, and they were very appreciative of that. So keep an eye on that. I don't even want to guess when 1B is going to start. There are still a lot of 1As to get done. But anything we get, we will pass on. And when we get the details of what Commissioner Arkush said late this afternoon, we'll send it out to you. And that's all I have for emergency management. And except if you are low on supplies, please reach out and ask us. If you want your buildings or your trucks sprayed, let us know. We will get you a sprayer. You'll have to do it yourself. But happy to help. And that's all I have for emergency management, and I have nothing for EMS.
Ken, a question?
Yes, sir.
Within that 20-day period, the waiting period, is there any chance that there might be an opportunity to get those immunizations on site in Cheltenham? Or is everything expected to be done at a single locus countywide?
I'm guessing single location. She spoke to that today because we were preparing to do, in conjunction with Abington, a closed pod here.
Sure.
And apparently, what she spoke to today, and I didn't see it, Kim called me, once you've punctured the vial, it literally has to be used in 5 minutes, and then there's the cooling and all that. So it does not appear there are going to be any closed pods, so to speak, for 1A or 1B. Currently, the only location as of right now is the Montgomery County Community College. It is supposed to be expanded to a second location, but if I was a betting man, that won't be any closer. It'll be in the western part. So if we listen to what she said today, it'll be done exactly the way EMS was done. And yeah, it's a pain to go there, but it was probably the most efficient county process I've ever seen.
Thanks.
Okay. Chiefs, as far as the supplies with the COVID and cleaning supplies, if you need anything, like I said, let Ken know. And we can arrange between us to get it to your station. I mean, whatever, I can get it there for you. It'll save you a trip to the EOC, all right? So let us know about that, all right? Moving on into commissioners' comments.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, Scott, if you don't mind, since I've been the regular at the fire board. First of all, thank you everyone for attending tonight, for your participation, and frankly, for respecting the process. At the urging of township management and the commissioners, the fire marshal opened up tonight's fire board meeting to a more inclusive public forum. And we did so because of a result of questions being raised and concerns being expressed over the recent actions regarding the Ogons Fire Company. In multiple fire boards, emails, public meetings, the board, along with other responsible parties, outlined what we believe was our supportable reasons for the actions we felt compelled to take. We did so in concert with the confirmation and support of 3 of the 4 fire chiefs, who are the only fire policy related voters who mattered, along with selected key findings from both the PFM and the CDEC report. Ogons Fire Company leadership had ample time and opportunity to take responsibility and initiate improvements and remedial actions for a long period of time, probably the last 18 months, when constructive efforts would have eliminated the various problems, manpower shortages resulting from non-recruitment, alienation or loss of firefighter participation, inability to provide the minimum levels of coverage and protection, no timely and discernible actions to put a replacement qualified, certified, and fire board acceptable chief in place, and continuing reliance on other companies to cover fires in their assigned areas. The interests of public safety and responsible collective fire company performance were the only reasons the Board of Commissioners took the decertification action. It was an unfortunate but necessary decision made by an overwhelming majority of the board. And so for many of you who are concerned, we remain concerned, we remain diligent, and we will continue to monitor things. We are open to discussions, including continuing dialogue with Ogons Fire Company and for the personnel. So I think it's important for you to know, yes, we made the decision, but there's still other things that can be done, and we'll be open to those discussions as things move forward. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, this is Dan. Just wanted to add to that, my thanks and appreciation to all the volunteer men and women. Your service to the community is very much appreciated. It has been, and we continue to appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners on the meeting wish to comment? Okay, not hearing any. Good and welfare. As you guys heard in the November minutes, we've had a couple discussions and a couple mentions of changing the meeting times of Fire Board. We also discussed, do we need to hold them every month? Do we want to go bi-monthly or quarterly? So I'll ask the chiefs to talk amongst yourselves after tonight, and hopefully by the February meeting, we can come up with something. And that'll be sent into, that'll be sent in with the amendments to Chapter 22, because all that's in Chapter 22. So we'll do all the amendments at one time rather than 3 or 4 different amendments. If you guys are okay with that, that'd be great. All right. Does anybody else have anything under good and welfare?
I do, Scott. One piece of good news. I know many of you on the call know Kenny Clark from Abington, was the fire marshal for years. And I think I brought it up at the last meeting that Kenny had lung cancer. And Kenny had extremely successful lung surgery. And I've talked to him a lot, and he sounds better than I've heard him sound in 30 years. No cough, no smoking, no nothing. And so Kenny is doing much, much better. So keep him in your prayers. If any of you know him, he'd love a phone call.
Okay. Anybody else with anything for good and welfare? All right. The next scheduled meeting is the Thursday, February 4th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Location to be determined. Probably going to be Zoom because I don't see the vaccination getting out and people being okay. So it'll probably be Zoom. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
3. Okay. We have the meeting at 9:03 p.m. Guys, if you just sit tight for a minute, President Gordon, I believe, asked if he could have words.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it. Commissioner Zieggenfeld, you had mentioned about continuing to work with us. How would that look like? How did you want that process to go?
Well, I think what we have to do is look into that, have some separate meetings, but I would say discussion about equipment, discussion about personnel, et cetera. So it's not something that instantly we can deal with, but I think there's probably some ideas that have been floating around in your group. And I imagine we want to listen to some of the recommendations that you have to make along those lines, and we'll see where it goes.
Very well. It's hard to do it from outside without, like I said, without having a voice. So, if it's not through Fire Board, it's directly with public safety, those commissioners, whichever.
Well, I would give you access to all 7 commissioners.
Whichever.
I'm sure that you would be welcome to sit in on fire boards and that kind of thing. But I think that's something we have to investigate, frankly, Mr. Gordon.
Okay.
But I didn't want there to be a statement that says there's no discussion to be had or that kind of thing. It's one of the reasons we had tonight's session, and hopefully some things that can be done that will, first and foremost, not have any adverse impact and continue to improve the fire safety for the township, which is first and foremost our concern.
Okay.
Last thing, I mean, you clearly stated in your last statement was that 3 of the 5 chiefs voted for that, and they did not. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, see you next month. Thank you.